Hello everyone and welcome to Singularity One-on-One. Singularity One-on-One is a podcast feature of Singularity weblog where you can go and listen to it or download it in full. As you may already know, my name is Nicola, aka Socrates, and as always, I will be the man with the questions. Today, I'm privileged to have Salim Ismail as my guest on the show. Salim is a successful angel investor and entrepreneur, and his last company, Angstro, was acquired by Google in August 2010. He has operated many early-stage companies and is a frequent speaker on internet technologies, private equity, and entrepreneurship. For the last 2 years, Salim has been the executive director of the Singularity University, and prior to that was a vice president at Yahoo and the head of Brickhouse. Hi Salim, and welcome to Singularity One-on-One. It is our pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Excellent. I know that you have a very busy schedule, so I would like to jump right into the interview with the following question.
Sure.
Salim, can you tell us a little more about yourself and your background, but especially why and how you got interested in becoming an entrepreneur in general and an angel investor in tech companies in particular?
Okay. So I have been building companies for the last 10 years or so, and I was in New York when 9/11 happened, and you realize when something like that happens that life is very short. And I decided, let's go play full out, because carpe diem. I built three companies in New York. One of them was called PubSub, which was a big deal at the time. And then I moved out to the West Coast because I thought that it was too hard to build a technology company in New York at the time. So I moved out here and joined Yahoo, and I ran innovation there, and I was the head of Brickhouse, which was Yahoo's incubator, and was very fascinated by that. I think we've always used technology to change the world. Human beings have always done this. And so understanding how you can leverage technology to scale and make a big impact is something that's very important to me. So what happened was I was building out Brickhouse for Yahoo, and I had the enormous privilege there of looking across. My team and I analyzed 3,000 ideas across the company, and our job was at any given point to be building out the top 5. Right? So that was a ton of fun, had a huge overview across the whole of the innovations portfolio at that company. Now Yahoo unfortunately was in a difficult area, and when the Microsoft bid happened, it was time to go. I'd set up a relationship between Yahoo and NASA, and I was working with the NASA collab here, and the NASA folks invited me to the founding conference of Singularity University in exactly almost 3 years ago now. I'd never heard of Ray, I'd never heard of Peter. Walked in completely blind. The top of my head lifted off a bit with the talks that were going on, and I asked a few too many questions of how are they going to manage these teams and how are they going to manage all the ideas, and that was that.
Very interesting, Salim. So, in that sense, it's interesting to find out what is the motivation or the ultimate goal behind your work?
Behind Singularity University? Or my work specifically?
Let's start with your own personal motivation behind joining the Singularity University team and deciding to push forward with that idea.
So ultimately, a human being wants to make a contribution. The highest motivation, and we found this in psychological studies, is that the ability and opportunity to make a contribution is the most motivating thing that a human being can come across. And the opportunity to build out and run SU for its initial stages, and the challenge of doing something that had never been tried before, right? The synthesis of bringing together 80 of the top scientists in the world across the fastest moving technologies, that opportunity was too attractive. Plus the fact that the objective of SU in addressing grand challenges, I think, was very, very compelling to me. The observation was made at our founding conference that if you look at some of our global challenges, we live in this accelerating, disruptive world, right? But if you look at some of our global challenges, the financial crisis, the spread of pandemics, aspects of climate change, these global challenges are rooted in accelerating factors and exponential factors. If you have an exponential problem, you can't address it with a linear solution. It's too expensive. So you need an exponential solution that can scale, replicate easily, disseminate, is easily copyable, operates at a local level, etc. And that got me very excited. And the opportunity to think about how you harvest the top accelerations across all these technologies and then apply those to some of these global challenges? Well, if you go back to the idea that the opportunity to make a contribution, you almost can't find a better opportunity than that. So that was it.
So perhaps now is the time to ask you to tell us a little bit more about the potential or the actuality of exponential organizations. Do they exist? How do we create them? And
so this is a recent thesis that I've been on, is we have a new breed of organization today. A new type of organization that with a very small footprint is making a very global impact. Examples would be TED or X Prize or Donors Choose. SU is an example, right? Think of the impact that TED has had with a very small set of people, or X Prize. Our core team in the whole first year was 5 people. In the second year we were 7 people. I think we're 8 or 9 right now. But if you think about the reach and the impact we've had, it's pretty incredible compared to that small size of people. So how are they doing this? What does that new paradigm of an organization look like? Community-driven, very purpose-oriented, very scalable, using collaborative technologies almost to a fault to really leverage each person. And the basic idea is in an old-style organization, when you add one person, you get a linear addition, and maybe even less because you have mythical man months and so on. In an exponential organization, when you add somebody, they add 1 point something times their value. And so you have an effective organization that's much bigger than the actual foot count.
so in that case, in your experience, what has been the demand for an organization such as Singularity University, and what are the plans for growth?
So we've been very fortunate. I think we've clearly hit a zeitgeist of how people are thinking about addressing this type of problem, right? We launched in February 2009 at TED, and we had 1,200 applicants from 70 countries that first year, fighting over 40 slots. It was completely beyond our expectations. We thought maybe we would get 200 or 300 applications. The 1,200 was overwhelming. We were waist deep in transcripts and reference letters and so on. The second year we had 1,600 applicants from 85 countries, and this year we had 2,200 applicants from I think 109 countries. Okay? So with that level of demand, clearly we've hit some zeitgeist in how people are thinking about it, but B, we could go 25 years just on that crop of applicants. So we've been thinking carefully about how to expand it, how to deal with that overwhelming demand. And frankly, we don't have a good answer. It's not easy to take this experience and replicate it elsewhere. We haven't bedded down our own model to really think about what does it look like elsewhere. And if we created a second campus, for example, it would kind of always be a second cousin to what happens here at NASA. The telepresence and e-learning don't really fully give the experiential understanding of what these technologies can do. So we've been thinking about how to spread it, and the best thing I've done is, closest thing I've done is running these global contests around the world to push the processing out to the edges to find great students. And so it's a hard problem to solve, and it's a good one. We're looking at it carefully.
Very interesting. So how have your ideas about the interconnectedness of advanced technology and business evolved before and after you started Singularity University, or have they?
They've evolved to a huge level. When I was at Yahoo and building out startups, you're focusing really on internet and mostly on consumer-based technologies. You're really at the time you're looking at internet and web-based stuff and maybe a little mobile. Today there's a lot of mobile involved, etc. But when you come to SU, it's not just internet and telecommunications. It's robotics, it's AI, it's nanotech, it's biotech. How could you use a nanotech, a breakthrough in nanotech combined with robotics and AI to make a massive change in health and wellness and medicine? We found that disruptive breakthroughs always happen when you cross two very different and disparate fields, right? So the aim here at SU is basically to bring together the smartest and most ambitious and most accomplished young leaders in the world, teach them about the fastest growing technologies, and point them at the biggest problems. Something interesting will happen. It's kind of a primordial ooze of disruptive innovation that we're creating here.